Should doctors be paid for performance? In other words, should they be rewarded financially for following certain rules like preventing hospital readmissions and prescribing certain drugs? Well, this is what's going on now with our Affordable Care Act, with healthcare reform, with Medicare and private insurance. So what do you think of this? What's going to happen with this?
This is a huge problem, because what happens is medicine is becoming more standardized. It's more like one size fits all. There's less flexibility on the part of the doctor to innovate therapies that are appropriate for each patient, because everybody's different.
Seems like it's going to make doctors robots.
Well, more like that. I mean, because it's taking away the flexibility to do things that they normally might want to do, but they're not going to get reimbursed for or even penalized for using.
So it's not looking at the patient as an individual.
Correct.
And with specific needs and
whatever they need.
Whatever they need. I mean, it's just like routine.
Right. So when we look at this in action, it's a real problem. It may be good for those doctors that are not very good, that are making mistakes, and they don't even know the standard of care as well as they should. These are the people that often are brought before the medical board for doing certain things that are not a good idea. They should be dealt with more that way, but for the doctors that are near the middle and the top, I mean, treating everybody different is really critical.
I've
never seen two patients with hypertension or cancer or diabetes or any illness
the same,
because they aren't the same. They have different needs. Their social settings are different. Their spiritual needs are different. Their physical needs are different.
So
their illness is different.
So in other words, they just come up with an idea, and there's no evidence to prove that this is helpful.
Well, what they're trying to do is make sure that doctors aren't doing things they shouldn't. They don't want them to be upgrading their bills by upcoding, doing things like that. They want them to know that if they do the things that they're asked to do that seem reasonable for most patients, that they're going to be financially rewarded for that. And there's something to that. But we have to go back to realize, Vicki, that people are all different, and what they need, what one person needs, another person may not need.
But this seems like it would just change a doctor's mindset.
It does. I don't know if there's any question it distracts them from the patient care issues that are the most important ones, and they're beginning to think more now about how do I make a decent income. And then there's conflicts of interest in some things too. Should you use a certain drug? I mean, should the government be telling you use this drug, not that one? And a lot of the time it's because of cost. Now, I will admit that doctors don't think a lot about cost. We tend to think of what does the patient need. But we do need to think about cost. And a lot of the advertising that we're reading about in our medical journals, in our direct-to-consumer ads that patients are coming to us about, are leading us on the wrong track. And we are spending too much money for new drugs that haven't been well tested.
And so also, what if the doctor thinks that there's a way he could treat this patient without using a drug and wants to try lifestyle first?
Right.
Then is the doctor going to get slapped on the wrist for not doing that?
Yeah, probably so. I mean, we're getting a little slapped on the wrist now for not doing lifestyle on outpatients. With inpatients in the hospital, it's a different story. There, you've got to do what is right for the patient, whether you're getting reimbursed or penalized. And I think that's one of the signs of a good doctor. And that's why we have medical boards in the hospital that look at and they look at quality of care and how people have practiced and make sure that people are getting what they need.
Well, I hate to see doctors lose their motivation to try to help the patient instead worrying about how to work the system.
Exactly.
You know, and there's problems with people being in the hospital. I mean, a lot of times if you're in the hospital too long, you can end up with complications or getting a staph infection that's resistant to antibiotics. On the other hand, there are people that are often discharged too soon, and then doctors get in trouble for readmitting them. So it's
almost like you can't win. I think we need to start looking at how we're going to give doctors more flexibility to be able to do what's right for the patients. We need to have some controls that keep some doctors from doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And if we balance that in some way that makes sense, what we're going to have is a healthcare system that actually works right.